Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin Mommy and Smokey. And it's Monday, December 19th, 2022. Here back for another cross-stitching update. I was not able to come last week. I had completely slipped my mind when I was filming last time that my parents would be visiting, including into Monday, which means I can't film. And then life happened and I couldn't film on Tuesday either. So then I just figured, well, I'll just wait. Last week was probably the busiest week I've had in a long time, and this time of year that's to be expected, I suppose. I got some stitching done. I did not get all of my goals met, but that's okay. I still got time on everything, even though I didn't get goals met. And at the very end of the year, if I have any extra time or days, I'll maybe come back to some of these things to try to get whip-go blackouts, because that would be fun. First, I have a few Christmas cards to share that I got from Stitchy Friends. Here's one from Dawn, Frosty X Stitch. Super cute. And Michelle, Laundry Stitcher. That was a cute one. And who is this one? Oh, this is from Sue. And she also sent me a gift card to Acorns and Threads here in Portland, Oregon. So that'll be fun to be able to pick something out, probably after Christmas, because I don't know what I'll get for Christmas, so I'll wait. And then I got a card from Cookie, and an ornament that she made, which is really sweet. She made me one last year as well. Isn't that adorable? It's a tiny little snowman finished on a button, like a button finish, and then some ribbon and one of these little wooden snowflakes. Super cute. So thanks so much. I have that one and a couple other ornaments I received from Stitchy Friends the last couple years on the side of the tree near my stitching chair, so I can see them all the time. It's very fun. There's Smokey. So thank you, everybody. It's really sweet to see things come in the mail from all of you. So this is a fun stitching community that we have here. I guess we'll start with travel stitching like we do. I have done some travel stitching in the past 2 weeks. I worked on my temperature wander with me both Sundays, I believe. And here it is now. This is 27 count Linda in Vintage Country Mocha, 1/1 full cross. And I think since I've seen you last, I've done 3 paws and the little mouse. So yeah, these paws, and they're getting, this is my second to lowest color, this purple heel pad there. So pretty chilly here. It was a very frosty, and it's getting down to freezing at night, which is crazy. So yes, I had some angst with my mouse last time, and the charted colors was for this color, the lightest tan, to be the mouse, and it was blending in too much. It works okay here because there's enough other structure, but I ended up going, and I thought, well, gray mouse will be too close to the gray kitty. I'm planning to chart to look like Smokey. And then I thought maybe a white and pink mouse, but then the little toys that she plays with are tan and brown. So I'm like, okay, I'll just bump up to the medium and dark colors. There's 3 tan colors included in the pattern, and I wanted to keep it colors that were in the pattern. So I think that turned out fine. The ear blends in a little bit, but I think it's okay. I think it turned out just fine. So I still have the little, this little feather toy, and then the cat are the extra things that I have left to do. But the cat will take a little while, but this feather thing shouldn't take long at all. So maybe next week. Well, next week is Christmas Day, but we will be, I might have time to work on it on Christmas Day. We'll see. I think I might only have 1 paw to stitch next week, so then maybe I could work on the feather toy also, so we'll see. I also have been working on Year in Stitches by the Victoria Sampler. This was last year's Facebook group release, and it's now on their website in this, I can't remember what it's called. Creative Designs section. I don't think it's on here, but yeah, I've been working on September, just about finished with September, and it occurred to me there's 3 left. There's no way I'm finishing it this year because I got behind when we went to London in September. So, and just the summer in general, I think maybe also got us behind because this is what I work on waiting for my kids in the car, and they don't go to school in the summer time. So yeah. So I'm behind, and there's no way I'm finishing this year, but it occurred to me, I have my travel stitching finish whip-go board that I'm planning to do this coming year. And I had all the little advent animals filling out the board except for 3 spaces. And those 3 spaces were gonna be some of my smaller projects that I think I could finish this year, but I'm thinking instead, I'll do each of these for those whip-go spaces, and then those other projects will go into my focus on a finished pieces for my at-home stitching instead. And I'll explain all of that a little bit later, and I hope to have a video up next week, maybe, or the first week of the new year, whenever I can swing it, of my plans for 2023 and showing at least the pieces I'm hoping to finish, and then at least like cover pages of everything else that I'm planning to put in the mix, because I don't want to show too many things. It takes too long. But anyways, I'll show a little bit, I'll talk a little bit more about my plans at the end of this video, but I'll go into more detail in an actual video, hopefully soonish. So this is where it's looking like now. Almost done with September. There it is. Everything is stitched, I believe, except for that little 1/1 thing in the middle, the cross stitch with the blue ribbon from the county fair. Literally 4 1/1 stitches. So it's practically finished, but I will go in. I decided to just keep it mostly as charted because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do and my brain was just over it. I didn't want to do it. So I took out there was a band of white like in the middle of this sky area in that little cross stitch piece. And it made me think, my first thought of that was that it was a cup of iced tea, and it didn't make any sense to me why that would be there. So I just filled it all in with blue, and I'm doing the rest as charted. So I think that's fine. So yeah, there's one little dot in the middle of the ribbon, the blue ribbon, that's gonna be yellow, and then 4 stitches in there, and everything else is finished. So that will be done. If I get any other time to kind of get this to a good stopping point, I might work on the borders as well for the last row, so that next year I can just have the insides to do, but I might not have any chance to do that. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. I did work on my Under the Sea Club pattern a little bit. The last part should come out this week. So this is by the Frosted Pumpkin. This was their mystery stitch along for this year. And this was the last release, the last clue, that's the word I'm looking for. The last clue was this bottom part with all the coral and starfish and little crabby. And the bottom will probably be border stuff, similar to what's up here, I'm guessing. Which goes fairly quickly since it's only 3 colors. So I'm still working on it. I didn't get a lot done, but I did work on it. So that's something, right? So here is this one. This is on a 25 count even weave, kind of a mystery light medium blue color, 1/1 full cross, using all of my own colors. I did a color conversion, except for this wave color that's called for. Most of what's called for was DMC, and I just kitted it up with fancy floss that were similar. So I got the little boy diver here is done, I believe. And there's 3 fishes here that will look like this fish, and they're not quite done, but they're started some coral. The rock is done, but there's a lot more coral on top of the rock, and then the starfish. The crabby is not quite finished, and then there's some more sand as well. So there's still some bits to go. There's a little bit, this band of border here, I could do that as well before this. I don't know when I will. I might be able to work on it today. This might be, yeah, I don't know. I have some Etsy stitching I have to do this week for a customer as well. So if I have any extra time, I may work on this for bonus stitching, travel stitching, whatnot. So hopefully I can get that close to a finish by the end of the year, and early January at the latest. That'd be nice to get that done. I guess I can show his name is Jesus now as well. I guess I could show that with my regular part. Let's wait on that one. So that's my regular, all my travel stitching. Let's go back to what I worked on the last time I talked to you guys. I was trying to finish up some stitches on April Fairy to try to get my whip goal finished, because I didn't get to 1,000 stitches when I was supposed to work on, when I had it slotted for my time. That's what this one is, Quick Stitch April Fairy by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this one I'm doing a method of stitching that's a little bit slower, so I was not able to get 1,000 stitches. I got like a little over half what I needed to get. So I was thinking, oh, I'll work on this for bonus stitching, and I only did that twice. And I got 56 stitches one day, 64 another day, and then I decided, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I don't have time. So this is as far as I got before I gave up on trying to get to my 1,000 stitches right now. So this is on 28 count rows Monaco, 1/1, full cross. And I am stitching in diagonals with parking, and I'm doing like a stitch by stitch situation where I'm rethreading my needle constantly. And I like the results. I like the process even. It's just, it is a lot slower. So I can't have the same goal in the same amount of time as I do on some of my other pieces. This is one of the 2 that might come out again at the end of the year. If I finish sampler stitches before the end of the year, I might try to get my 2 last full coverage whip goals completed, because I didn't finish the other one either. So, because it would be nice to get a blackout on my whip go boards. My my fancy lady board will get a blackout, but not the full coverage one if these 2 don't get finished. So, not finished, the goal finished. So, Edwardian Lady was the one I was working on by Joan Elliott, which is this one. This is the first Fancy Lady pull for December. And I was really, in my video 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'd like to get her hat finished, her face, her hair, all that. I worked on this for 5 days, technically, but some days was literally half of the length of thread. Not a lot was done on this. I had very little stitching time 2 weeks ago at the beginning of the week. So I was just like, well, I ended up getting almost all of her hat done. There's even some, I think it was over here, that I was really, really wanting to get the rest of her hat finished, at least to say, hey, I finished the hat. But alas, just time got away from me and I couldn't do it. So it's all right. Where is this one? It got attention. I can mark it off my whip go board, and that's what it will be. So this is where this one's at. This is 32 count Fairy Mist, I believe, Lugana by Fabric Flare, 2/2 full cross. And yeah, I got a good amount of the hat finished. There's still some dark teal on this side that I didn't get finished, but I knew it would be at least a whole nother length of thread, like, you know, a half hour, an hour, you know, I didn't have that much time to give to it. So I was like, well, okay, I'll just leave it. It would be nice to come back and finish that before, you know, but I have too many other things that I want to try to finish before the end of the year. So it is what it is. It's fine. I'm having to let go a lot of planning and goals at this point because the year is just quickly coming to an end and it's very busy with real life, which is more important than stitching. So I just have to make concessions. And then I did have a new start on Thursday for Lisa Stitching and Such. Her birthday was here in December. She was going to start this. I'm like, oh, I just bought that. Maybe I should start it with you. So I like to get 1,000 stitches on all my full coverages this year, and except for April Fairy and Hibiscus Fairy now, and Quick Stitch Patchwork Quilt Room, which I started a little while ago, only spent 1 day on. All the rest of them have had 1,000 stitches, which has been really fun. So this one I was like, well, that'd be really nice if I could get 1,000 stitches on it. I gave it originally 3 days. So I ended up getting 1,000 stitches on it in 2 days, which was really good. And it was mainly because I'm doing a half stitch and it was all up here in the blue. 3 colors of blue, half stitches, it just went really fast. So I was excited about that. So I got my 1,000 stitch goal met in 2 days, so that on, oh yeah, that's right, because I realized my parents were visiting Sunday and Monday. Sunday we had church and then we play games the rest of the day with my parents. That's what we like to do together. So I know I'm not going to stitch at all on Sunday. So then I wanted to work on Sampler of Stitches on Saturday because I don't want to eliminate my Sampler of Stitches day this past week. Not the one we just had, the one before that. So because I got the Sunny Birds 1,000 stitches done in 2 days, I was able to work on Sampler of Stitches on Saturday, which was great. So this is on 40 count cream linen by Zweigart, and it's 1/1 half cross. So that is 1,012 stitches. And I'm picking symbols left to right, top to bottom, within each 10 by 10 square. So yeah, there's several, I think 7 or 8 squares along here that are complete. So tiny. Yep, so that's fun. Super happy with that. That kind of made up for not getting Edwardian Lady as far along as I wanted to. She's settling in back there. I might show sampler stitches in a little bit. Let's see, I'll do sampler stitches at the end because I worked on it again yesterday. So my next main piece was Roses of Provence, which is my second WIPCO Fancy Lady draw for the month of December. And my goal on Fancy Ladies is 3 days, so whatever I can get done in 3 days. This one I did get to a nicer stopping point, which was really nice. So even though I didn't stitch a lot, I had a way to say, okay, I got something accomplished here. So this one is on Stonehenge 32 count linen by Color and Cotton, 2/2 full cross. And here she is. It's like greens and purples. And I finished what I think I finished all her hair cross stitches. She's got a big bow in her hair, so there's still more of that to stitch. But all the cross stitch that looked like hair colors, I believe is finished. Lots of beads, and there's a big pink bow right here. But yeah, so that felt nice to at least get that much accomplished. Yeah, so there she is. And I did that in 3 days. So that accomplishes my WIPO goal. So that is a blackout on my Fancy Lady WIPO board. Got 3 days on all of my projects that I put on that board. Then on Thursday, I worked on His Name is Jesus. This past Thursday, the 15th, with Desiree, the Addicted Stitcher. We like to work on this when we're visiting. This is by Joyful Expressions, and I'm doing mine in 3 different Victorian Motto sampler shop threads, which are hard to find now, but I got them when I was back in the thread of the month club a few years back. So here I am now. This is on 28 count ivory Lugana, 1/1 full cross, and I worked on the Son of God right here and didn't get it all the way finished, but made a good start on it. So next time I'll probably finish that and then start another one, maybe one either here or here. I'm picking again, like I like to do. My brain just loves it to do it this way, where I pick the next symbol based on top to bottom, left to right. And so for that, I'm doing that, which phrase has stitches the next highest, top to bottom, left to right. So this one was the next highest. And I think the one over here actually was the next after that. So we'll see. When I work on this next, we'll figure it out. So this one is going well. Most likely we'll get a finish next year at the rate we're going. And I did work on my Christmas sweater cat a little bit, but because life was so busy, I did not have very much time to have bonus stitching at all. And even my main stitching got very little. So bonus stitching is what I call like a 24/7 piece, which 25/7, daily 30, that sort of thing, where it's like just a little bit. If I have extra time in the afternoon before I make dinner, that's kind of the time I set aside for an extra project, a bonus project, which is about a half hour-ish. And then after dinner, any of my evening time is then my main piece for the day. I was thinking I would try to make this for my mom this year, but this past couple days I realized, no, I don't want to stress over it this week and try to get it done. I have, like I said before, I have some Etsy stitching I need to do, and that trumps this. So, and not to mention more Christmas cookies and wrapping presents and all the things. So I've got this started, but I will not be attempting to finish this year. I think I will add this to my focus on a finished pieces for this coming year, because I'm going to have 10 of those. That will be my at-home focus on a finished pieces. I'll give it 10 days. I'll have, it'll get done in that time. So that's what I'll do with that one and give it to her next year. And this is as far as I got. I did a little bit more, but not a whole lot more than you saw last time. So this is 25 count Prim vintage cloth, 1/1 full cross. I think the only thing I did since you saw it is like the light tan stripes in the tail and the head, and then the eyes and whiskers. There's still some darker fur colors like along the feet, and then the nose. I'm not even sure what color that's going to be, but anyways, and then not to mention all the stockings and the bough of holly at the top and all that stuff. So I will just set this aside and do this again next year. It's cute, but I just haven't had the time to focus on it. So yeah, that'll be one of my let's finish this in 2023 projects. So, and then I went to Hibiscus Fairy, which was my second whip-go piece on my fancy lady board. Where is this? Here it is. This is also Heaven and Earth Designs. I started this, I think, near my birthday last year, maybe. I think I'd only had one rotation on it, and I was doing the typewriter method where I just go pick the symbols across the top row. And my top to bottom, left to right is only picking symbols. That's not necessarily the way I'm stitching. Like if a symbol's here and the color flows down, I'll stitch it down. if it kind of scatters across the top, I'll try my best to make a path across the top, because then the next time I hit that symbol, it'll already be done and it'll further my progress across the top of the piece. But I'm not necessarily just stitching in a typewriter method, like where the actual stitches are just along the top row. I'm picking my symbols that way. And this was fun. I had no idea there was a leaf that touched the top. So I hit that and was like, hey, really cool. And then you'll see there's vines along here that are outlined in dark. I got some of that too. So this is not a finished WIPGO. Let's see, 4, 5, 6. I think I got about 700 stitches, so it's not quite finished. This is another one I would really, I think this is probably a bigger focus to try to get to the 1,000 stitch mark than April Fairy, because this one is more achievable. So at the end of the year, if I finish sampler stitches before the end of the year, I want to try to get this goal met. So here is this one now. This is on, I believe, 28 count tea-dyed Monaco by Charles Craft, like the kind in the tube, because it is rather stiff feeling, starchy, like the craft store Monaco. And yeah, so that's an extra 700 stitches. I kept picking symbols along here, and I ran into these greens on this leaf, which was really fun. So there's lots of different colors there. Some of them came across to help flesh out this archway, which is also really cool. And then I kept going past the leaf and started coming across some more of these darker burgundies, which are really pretty. So not quite to the end, so I'll probably get there. That's kind of what I was thinking with this one. I'm going to continue doing picking the symbol along the very tippity top row until I hit the end. And then now that I know that it's easier on my brain to do it block by block, to be able to find the next symbol rather than taking, like if I'm down here in like the third row from the top of this 10 by 10 squares that are down here, like it's just really complicated to try to find your next symbol. So I found on Knitting Woman that if I just top to bottom, left to right within the 10 by 10 square, pick symbols, stitch them in wherever they go, then go to the next one to pick symbols, it's a lot easier to find your next symbol. So once I get to the very edge of the piece, using the top row only method, which is really easy at the beginning of a pattern, then I'll go back and do it block by block. So if that makes any sense, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like I want to see the edge. It's really fun. I'm almost there, you know? So I think it'd be fun to like get to the edge, see the whole width of the design, and then do it more in an easier method the rest of the time. So that's my idea on that one. And I think with another 300 stitches to finish my WIPGO goal, I might touch the edge of the piece. So I really would like to do that before the end of the year. Okay, sampler of stitches. I did work on this twice. I worked on it last Saturday, the 10th, and this Sunday, the 18th. And this is what it looks like all together by the Drawn Thread. You can find this still on their website, and you buy each individual pattern. So it's not cheap, but there's 9 patterns all together, and you can get them all at once or get them one at a time, however you need to. I am currently working on the STU block, and I believe I might have just started the S block last time. I honestly don't remember, but in the last 2 weeks, I finished. Yeah, I worked on the S block last time, and yesterday I finished the last of the S block and got most of the T block done, which is all the specialty stitches in the T block are done, and which is really nice because Mondays, I'm supposed to work on this again today, which is so exciting. And Mondays tend to be really busy because I film and I go grocery shopping, and there's just a lot, so I don't have a lot of extra time on Mondays. And so it'll be nice. All I have left of the T block is the T, which is all cross stitches, and then the next thing right to left in the U is also just cross stitches. So it'll be nice to have the time I have today to be only cross stitches, because then I don't have to think about learning a new stitch. It is fun, but it takes just a little bit more brain power, so it'll be nice to have something simple to work on today. more likely that I'll actually get to it, knowing that it's a simple section. So this is on the called for linen, called for materials. It was a very generous gift to me, so I'm working with everything that's called for. 30 count custard cream linen, 1/2, and most of the specialty stitches are also 1 thread, although some of them are 2. Just doing things as charted, and you'll see, I'll get a close-up here of the STU block. And I did a good amount the last 2 times I worked on this, so I'm excited to work on this more this week. I have this slated for, I believe, 3 days, and then I'll work on some Christmas stitching around Christmas time. So you'll see a hoop mark here. I went ahead and put a hoop on for this stitch right here because they have, oh, what was this called? I don't remember. But it had like really long stitches vertically, horizontally. Those are the biggest ones that there's stitches that go all the way across, one big stitch, and then diagonally as well. And then you tack them down with these little half stitches. Because especially the horizontal ones that were super long, I needed something stable, and while I was working on this one in particular. Most of the stitches I can still do in hand, but every once in a while there comes across one like that that is, I need it held really taut. So I went ahead and threw my hoop on for that one. That's why you see, see the hoop mark there. But all the rest of these I did in hand. Super cute. Yeah, I think I had like some of these. Oh, this one is wrong, and I don't care. I mean, I do, but I'm not taking it out. At some point I realized it was off somewhere, like it was too high, too short, too wide, something when I was doing another one of these stitches. And then I realized it was off on both sides or something, but it was pretty much done. I think it was actually almost done with the stitch when I realized it wasn't quite right because it wasn't lining up right down here. And I'm like, you know what? I am not taking that out. So I'm just not counting off of that when I did all the rest of these. I'm leaving it because it's close. The spacing around it is not as charted, but it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, and I made another error too, but I made it, I caught it, this one, all 4 rows of this stitch are supposed to be the same vertical height. And I got this top row finished and I realized it didn't line up right with this one, which it should have. It was one thread too long. So it was like the height of 2.5 stitches instead of 2. So I tried to take it out, and since it's you go through you make each leg of the stitch twice, it was like, yeah, this is not coming out. I'll have to cut it and the whole deal. I'm like, you know what? Let's just get creative. So then I did the second row was 1.5 stitches tall, which evened out. And then I did it symmetrical. So then I did another 1.5 and another 2.5, so that it was, instead of 2, 2, 2, 2, it was 2.5, 1.5, 1.5, 2.5. And it looks intentional, even though it was not as charted, but it's the same stitch. It's just not as symmetrical as intended, but that's all right. So this is fun. I have this down, like I said, to work on today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So hopefully I will get some nice time to work on that in the evenings. Push that towards the finish. And I also have it slated for Sunday. No, just kidding. I don't actually. When do I have it? Again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So 6 more days. I may need more than that. So we'll kind of just wait and see. I have the rest of the month, the 29th through the 31st, when I could work on some of the Whipco pieces that didn't get finished, didn't get their 1,000 stitch goal. But I can work on sampler stitches on those days as well if I need to, and just not do the Whipco goals, because I think I'd rather have a finished piece than a few more stitches on something. So my highest priority Whipco piece is the Hibiscus Fairy, because I think it'd be fun to get all the way to the edge of the page, the edge of the project. But the other two, if I don't, April Fairy and Patchwork Quilt Room, if I don't get their 1,000 stitches, I'm okay with that. So that might end up being what it is. So I think that's everything I worked on So I will kind of share plans for this week. Besides sampler stitches, I am going to do some Christmas stitching because it's Christmas this week. So I was originally planning to pull out Heirloom Nativity Sampler by the Victoria Sampler for 4 days around Christmas. So the 22nd through the 25th. I have this scene left to do, plus the words and the heart hanger. Never done that before. That'll be fun. So I decided to, Maggie over at Kitschy Whips wanted to start Christmas Elegance this year and called me out. And I have it kitted up. So I figured I'll go ahead and start that one on Thursday and work on that on Thursday and Friday. And then this one will be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I'll work on this nativity scene right here, which will be perfect. And then this will go into my focus on a finish project pile for next year. So I think it's pretty close. So this won't get as much time this year, but I'm okay with that. So here's this one now. I would like to get this out here in Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I think that'd be really nice. So I have the angels, everything's completed, 100%. This is the shepherds and the wise men. So then all I have left is the actual nativity scene and then the heart hanger. So this is 32 count, something gray. It's MCG Textiles, old school linen from the craft store. Can't remember what kind of gray. Doesn't matter, they don't make it anymore. But yay! So that'll be fun to pull out. I also have here Christmas Elegance. I'll start this on Thursday, I guess. Give it a couple days, likely. We'll start right in the middle. So it'll be something like that. This is on Nightshade by Color and Cotton is what I have this kitted up with. And while I was cutting this apart, because I have a fat half of this fabric, I went ahead and cut apart, serged everything. This is the other half that goes with Fairy Idol, which I believe Fiber Arts Amy wanted to start this one. First day of spring next year. So I'm plugging that one in for my March Mirabilia, which I'll talk more about that later. And then I had a bunch of other fabrics that I knew I needed to cut up and get ready for full coverage starting. And since I was doing that one, I figured, well, I'll do these too. Oh yeah, and Sunnybirds. I was cutting off Sunnybirds to start with Lisa this past week, 2 weeks ago now, I guess. So I went ahead and prepped all of these too. So the rest of the 40 count cream is going to go for Kittens in the Library and Mini Evergreen. I had enough pieces for both of those. Kittens in the Library and Mini Evergreen. Let me show you those. This is this one by Artisy. So adorable. And I don't know if Mini Evergreen is in here yet. I don't think it is. Oh, yes, it is. So here's Mini Evergreen by Heaven and Earth Designs. And then I have a Jubilee cut that actually is the perfect size for the little Quick Stitch Little Cake Shop. And this is a square design pretty much, so it worked really good. This is the Quick Stitch Little Cake Shop Max Colors. They have a bigger version, but all the important stuff was in this one. So I went with that one. That will fit perfectly on that blue. Doesn't have a name necessarily, but it's like a gray blue color. And then my leftover piece of French lace, which I started, what did I start? Oh, I started the Magic of Christmas on this one. My leftover piece of this will work good for the Grand Library Romance, which I will be doing for a New Year's start. Let's see, Quick Stitch grand. These are alphabetical, but there's so many in here now. E, F, G. It's before. Here we go. Quick Stitch Grand Library Romance. There's a number of us who will be starting Grand Library type patterns on the new year if you want. I believe Jessie Marie does stuff. It's going to be starting the full one. I'm starting this one. And so if you have one and you either want to work on it in January or start one in January, feel free to join us. And then I had also some Silver Moon, Lugana, Kingdom with Dragons, and Delightful Waltz will both go on this piece. So I got that cut out and ready for those guys. La, 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 la. Here we go. Here's Kingdom with Dragons, also by Artisy, and Delightful Waltz is another Artisy. Those three, the Kittens in the Library one and this one, and they're all ones I got the birthday gift card. So exciting. Here it is. This is a Leonard Afimoff one. So those are fun. So those are all ready to go. And that kind of leads me into a little planning. If I kit things up, I want to start them. It's really hard to just leave them in my closet for the next 100 years. And I really enjoy full coverage. So I might start these this coming year, and my plan has been to, let's see, it's kind of a visual. So in general, I'm gonna have seasonal Sundays. So I'll have some, I think 3 different seasonal pieces that I'll rotate through to work on Sundays. And then February, I'm going to do full coverage February, where I'll work on a different full coverage piece every day. Arbitrary August, I'm going to do where I work on a different non-full coverage piece every day. And I'll probably narrow those down a little bit to be things I have not slotted in elsewhere in my year, just to make sure, just to account for and allow for working a little bit at least on more projects. I think that'll be nice. So the other 10 months of the year, my plan is to have 2 weeks on a not a full coverage, 2 weeks on a focus for a finish. So I'll have 10 projects that I want to try to get done in 2023. If I finish one of those projects before the end of the 2 weeks, I will have a Fancy Lady reward. So I'm going to pick 10 Mirabilia or Joan Elliott or Lavender and Lace, one of those Fancy Ladies, to plug in as my reward to work on with any remaining time of those 2 weeks once I get that focus piece finished. And then I'll have a week on a full coverage, another week on a full coverage no background, because I realized I have a lot of those. There are 2 full coverage no backgrounds that I have kitted up with fabric, so they are included. Before that I had 8. I'll just add in the 2 that I have kitted up, and they'll have a full 10, one for each month. And they'll each get a week, which is likely that they'll get more than 1,000 stitches on all those pieces, which I think will be really nice. Because this year I managed to get 1,000 stitches on most things in 3 days. So I have not yet, I have in the back of my planner, full coverage, no background, focus on a finish, Fancy Lady reward. So they all start with F. But I haven't finished plugging everything in. I've plugged in my full coverage no background because there's exactly 10. The rest of them I'm gonna have to play around and like figure out which ones I want to work on. And so the ones that I'm starting will get that spot. So I'm thinking of including all of these things that I've kitted up in spots here. And then some of my other like super high favorites will also get spots. And then everything else will go on my, like, will go in a jar to pull for full coverage February, to at least get a day in February. And I'm not sure how many I have, if you count these new starts at this point of full coverage pieces, but that might get everything touched. I'm not sure. So everything will get, maybe everything will get at least a day, and 10 things will get 5 days. That's kind of the plan. Oh yeah, and I also have, that's why I said 5, Family Mondays. I'm going to work on my family pieces once a month on Mondays. So I'll have Simpsons, Visit Endor, Bear Time Stories, and Dragon Ride. And then the very letters that I'm making for my nieces will be any bonus afternoon stitching. They'll get a little bit of time throughout all the weeks. And I think that'll be really fun. I'll have my Whipco board next year will be for my travel stitching, and it will be pieces mostly Advent Animals and year-end stitches to try to get those projects finished. And I'll do one little portion on each block of the Whipco board, so every month 2 of those will get called. And I'm hopefully get those 2 finished in that month. We'll see how that goes. It might be too lofty, but and then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, my oldest whip will also be some travel stitching. We'll see. We'll see how this all goes. Antique shoe collection. I have highlighted the area that is complete and marked off 12 sections to try to get this done in a year. So most of the time it's like shoes are, each shoe is a section, but then I also have like this chunk, and this chunk of the border are also sections. So that, hopefully, if I can keep up on that, I'll also get my oldest whip finished. And next year, or the year after, 2024, I'll likely pick To Everything a Season sampler and break it up again in 12 pieces and try to get that one done. And every year I could do my next oldest project and try to just chip those away, knock them off every year. So that'll be fun. I think that's all. So hopefully, I'm not sure if I will be able to film it all next week. My husband will be home all week, and so that tends to mean we do stuff together as a family. Where'd she go? Yeah. Hey, Smokey. Yeah. Yeah. So sweet. So I may not get any filming opportunities next week. We'll have to wait and see. It'd be nice to do a wrap up or do my 2023 plan video next week, but it may have to wait until after the new year, and that's fine. So if you don't see me next week, don't worry. just life, Christmas time. So I think that's everything I have to share with you. I hope you have a wonderful next 2 weeks, end of the year, all your festivities, whatever you're celebrating. And yeah, just enjoy what you're working on, enjoy your family and friends, and yeah, I think that's it. Happy stitching. Bye.